I am Marithina Seje. You're watching New Vision TV News. We are coming to you from the New Vision newsroom. We're going to take you through the news around Uganda, then the news around East Africa and the world. And later in the bulletin, we shall give you a special report on hydrocephalus, the little known killer. We start with the news around Uganda, where we look at stories making the headlines across the country. We start from Gulu district. Now, there are no more dead bodies accepted in Gulu public mortuary except those from the referral hospital. This comes after the public, led by the district leaders, protested the intolerable stench of decomposing unclaimed bodies brought by police and other healthy centers. We have the report.
There are no dead bodies accepted at Gulu public mortuary except those from the referral hospital. This comes after the public, led by the district leaders, protested the intolerable stench of decomposing unclaimed bodies brought by the police and other health centers. Gulu Hospital Administration says they do not have any space for bodies from other health centers or accident victims. Therefore, when the locals were hit by a stench of decomposing bodies, they went wild on the streets to show their dissatisfaction. A war of words broke out among leaders in Gulu and the Gulu Regional Referral Hospital Administration following the decomposing bodies, which were discovered in the hospital mortuary, that led to a chaotic demonstration by residents on Saturday. The leader of opposition, Betty Awol Ochan, Gulu Municipality Member of Parliament, KIJJANEBAROLA, Kilak South MP Inamuru joined the demonstration.
And one body got from how can you leave the dead body outside the gate? I would like to say Gulu Regional Referral Hospital is one of the hospitals which is getting the highest budget from the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda.
Yes.
Therefore, for our dismay, the medical superintendent cannot organize the mortuary. They cannot repair the fridges in the mortuary. This is a great shame we have ever seen. Therefore, this is a total foolery to the people of Acholi. Now, if you see critically, we have 9 bodies that have taken more than a month. They are rotting in the mortuary. The smells, you cannot come to the hospitals. You cannot pass here at the hospital. We would like the medical superintendent to go away.
The hospital senior administrator, Paul Ayuk, says the hospital mortuary has a freezer which has capacity to store only 8 bodies. However, the freezer broke down 2 weeks ago and needs about 6 million shillings for repair.
So when it is beyond 8, we inform them. They even reluctant, they can take more than a month to come and clean bodies. Now that this incident, when the fridge got fault, they could take even more than 2 weeks. So that's how we just smelling bodies in the hospital. And we have evidence because each and every time the body takes over 3 days, we write to them. Say, you come and bury this body. But they take more than now when the fridge is here, more than a week, they take to come and bury. Because they know the fridge is working. Yeah.
The Municipality Member of Parliament, Leandro Komakech, called for the immediate resignation of the hospital director and a roll of heads at the Municipal Council.
Gulu is going to become a city. It cannot become a city at the background of this kind of mismanagement. We are not going to tolerate it. We are going to take it on, and those who are responsible, their heads will roll.
The hospital administration, led by the director Dr. James Elima and the municipality mayor George Labeja, hit back, calling for the resignation of members of parliament who participated in the demonstration for failing to bring the issue of the non-functioning mortuary refrigerator to the floor of parliament.
They don't know what they're talking about. If a person to resign are MPs, because this is not municipal hospital. Me, I have 3 health centers which I'm controlling. There is no problem with it. But those referral hospitals, the issue of referral hospital is always debate at the floor of parliament. Have they even a day, single day, even raised that there is no fridge in this hospital? Have they even any single day raised that the people here are dying, there is no medicine? I think they are the people to resign. They should stop their nonsense. We are past time of talking nonsense.
The mayor claims members of parliament that took part in the demonstration, including Gilbert Olanya of Kilak South in Amuru district, and the Gulu woman member of parliament, also leader of opposition in parliament, Betty Awolo Chan, West Time in Kampala.
They're working to change Gulu, and they don't know, they're just there in Kampala enjoying being a part. And they join, and you're coming to Gulu say, Labeja should resign. Me, I can even live a better life. I have to say this very clearly. I can live a better life out of politics than those MPs who are there in parliament.
The hospital administration, led by Director Dr. Lima James, wants the MPs to replace the mortuary wall fence they destroyed with demonstrators.
This must work responsibly. What was hard with them to liaise with the health inspector in the municipality to temporarily dispose of this body, since we could not take more, instead of causing these commotions. Now the members of parliament went and organized their voters. They came and broke our wall. Our wall is now down. I don't know whose responsibility is that, but I'm going to the PS. I'm going to brief her about it, and I'm taking a letter to her. They must show cause and come and repair this wall.
Gulu municipality had planned to bury 30 unclaimed bodies this financial year, but they have already buried 62. The big question is, where are all these unclaimed bodies coming from?
Report by Joseph Omagol for New Vision TV.
Let's get to Kagadi district. Now, the police in Mabala holding a 28-year-old man and his wife over attempted suicide. Albert Pamason, the officer in charge of Mabala Police Post, identified the duo as Geoffrey Amanya and Mary Karunji, both residents of Mabala Town Council in Kagadi district. Now, Mary Goreti, an eyewitness, said Amanya locked himself inside his house on Monday at around 4 p.m. and set it ablaze using fuel before being rescued by the neighbors with severe burns. The above incident originated from family members who kept pestering him to separate, with his wife arguing that she was picked from the bar. News coming in from Porto Town. One person was on Monday night killed and 6 injured in a fire outbreak near Lorry Park in West Division, Fort Porto municipality. According to the eyewitnesses, the fire broke out at around 8 p.m. and left several people injured and property destroyed. Gilbert Baguma, a resident of Regoma, said that the fire outbreak was sparked off by a lorry which was carrying petrol in tanks. He identified the deceased as Chiwaya Mwesije, 37 years, a resident of Regoma in West Division who works in the lorry park as a broker. Now, Mwesije's body was found near a burnt Bajaj Boxer motorcycle, registration number UAB 517B. The Deputy Resident District Commissioner of Kawalore, Festus Bandemba, said that they contracted the UPDF, which managed to control the rowdy crowds which had started looting property. News coming in from Yumbe District. Nurses and housewives in Yumbe District are in fear, facing the highest wrath from a section of men who do not want their spouses to enroll for any contraceptive method. Irene Mature, the acting Yumba District Health Officer, said due to the nature of misbehavior in the district health centers, have now resorted to offering contraceptive services to women at night for fear of being seen. Even when that is the case, Mature added that few worst cases have been reported in Gulu sub-county, where in 2017, a housewife was brutally subjected to a gruesome pain when the husband, with the help of friends, cut the hand of the wife and removed an implant using a razor blade. Now, similarly, in Midigo sub-county, a man cut the wife using a panga on the hand and removed the implant. The acting district health officer observed that this is the greatest problem health workers are facing in the entire district, where men threaten to beat them over helping their wives to access family planning services. That is all I had for you for the news around Uganda. Now let us take a look at the news around East Africa and around the world with Lynn Komjishe.
Hello, you're watching New Vision TV. This is news around East Africa. My name is Lynn Komjishe. We start off with news coming in from South Sudan. Now, South Africa has pledged to invest $1 billion in developing petroleum production in Africa's youngest nation, and that is South Sudan. Pretoria says the process that will take South Africa accessing fuel more affordably may take 6 years to materialize. News from Kenya. The World Bank has approved a $250 million loan to Kenya's housing sector. Provision of affordable houses is one of Kenyatta's dreams that he is anxious to fulfill by the time he leaves office in 3 years' time, thereby sealing his legacy. Mortgage finance has become virtually unaffordable in Kenya over the past couple of years, with the sector hit by a high default rate with low uptake for housing units on market in the urban areas. In Uganda, Ugandan Muslims have started the holy month of Ramadan with the launch of a book highlighting the achievements of President Yoweri Museveni since he took power 33 years ago. The book, authored by Sheikh Suleiman Gugwa, is titled Achievements of YK Museveni to the Muslim Community. News coming in from Tanzania. Although statistics do not lie, it seems they can be negotiated. Tanzania's government and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, have agreed to meet and discuss the country's growth statistics that had caused a bitter row between the government and the fund. The IMF recently published growth projections for Tanzania, reviewing the growth rate for 2019 downwards from over 6% to 4%. But after a high-level meeting between President John Pombe Magufuli and IMF Director for Africa, Abebe Emoro Selassie, the two parties have agreed to hold a meeting soon to discuss the figures. Away from East Africa, we'll take a look at what's making headlines in the African continent. We look at Sudan. The African Union and the United Nations have said they are supporting a civilian-led transitional government in Sudan following last month's overthrow of President Omar al-Bashir. AU Commissioner Chairman Moussa Faki Mahamat told reporters after meeting on Monday with U.S. Secretary General Antonio Guterres, there is no question of sustaining the military council that assumed power after al-Bashir's ouster, saying it is not acceptable. But he said military members could be part of a civilian government. The AU initially gave the military 15 days to hand over power, but extended the deadline to 60 days. Mahamat said talks are underway. The news elsewhere in the world from Turkey. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said Tuesday the decision to rerun Istanbul's mayoral election was an important step toward strengthening democracy, describing the March voters marred by organized corruption and illegality. The High Election Board ruled on Monday for a fresh Istanbul mayoral contest on June 23rd, scrapping the March 31st vote, which was lost by Erdogan's party candidate, in a move that drew opposition accusations of dictatorship. The Turkish lira tumbled against the dollar after the election decision, bringing its losses this year to 14% as investors fretted about political uncertainty and business leaders criticized the move. Erdogan said Turkey was facing economic sabotage and vowed to fend off attacks on the economy. In Sri Lanka, investigators have dismantled a major part of the network linked to Sri Lanka's Easter Sunday bombings, according to the country's prime minister, but warned the chance of further Islamist militant attacks could not be ruled out. He said the government has made major strides in capturing the plotters linked to the April 21st bombings that killed more than 250 people, including 42 foreigners, and plans to introduce a new anti-terrorism law. Investigators are still tracking down 10 more key players associated with plotting the bombings. Now in China, the Chinese Prime Minister will visit the United States this week for trade talks, Beijing said Tuesday, playing down a sudden increase in tensions after U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to impose new tariffs. U.S. officials have said China has backtracked on substantial commitments it made during months of negotiations seeking to end their bruising trade war. Those concerns prompted Trump to say on Sunday that he would raise tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods to 25% from 10% by the end of the week, and would soon target remaining Chinese imports with tariffs. The president's tweet abruptly ended a 5-month ceasefire in a trade dispute that has cost the two countries billions of dollars and disrupted manufacturing supply chains. Fears that negotiations were unraveling sent global stocks and oil prices lower on Monday and raised speculation that China could cancel Liu's planned visit. News coming in from Qatar. Qatar said it will send $480 million to Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and the besieged Gaza Strip after a ceasefire deal ended the deadliest fighting between Israel and Palestinian factions since 2014 Israeli assault on the enclave. A statement from Qatar's foreign ministry on Tuesday morning said $300 million would support health and education programs of the Ramallah-based Palestinian Authority, which controls parts of the West Bank. Meanwhile, $180 million would go towards urgent humanitarian relief in United Nations programs and towards electricity. Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh welcomed the move and in a statement said and thanked Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. That was news around East Africa, news around the world. My name is Lynn Komjisha. Thank you for watching. I leave you with Ruth Nasaje taking a look at today's pullouts.
Thank you, Lynn. And now in the pullout news that comes out on Wednesday, we have Mwalimu Pullout, which offers education solutions, and also we have the Toto magazine. Now from the Mwalimu Pullout, you're going to find autism should never let down your child. Do you know what autism is? The Mwalimu Pullout is the best guide to that. Now parents, do you ever wonder what your children learn from films? Mwalimu has a solution to that. Remember, Teachers Making a Difference. The 2019 competitions were flagged off early this week, and we have the details of how much and who are the sponsors of this year's Teachers Making a Difference competition. Now from the Toto magazine, this is best for children. It comes out free in the Wednesday paper. Toto magazine shows us Mother's Day special and then the best things mothers have ever done for their children, more reading series and much more that your child will benefit from the free magazine of the Toto magazine. Away from pullout news, let us take a look at the latest from the sports industry. Now, Express will be boosted with the return of 3 players as they prepare to take on Bright Stars in the return leg semi-finals of the Stanbic Uganda Cup this Thursday at Wankulukuku Stadium. The Red Eagles, who played to 1-1 draw with Bright Stars in the first leg a week ago, will be welcoming back striker Eric Kambale, goalkeeper Matthias Mwanga, and defender Arthur Chigund from some injuries. The trio didn't travel to Arua when Express settled to goalless draw with Onduparaka in their last game of the 2018-2019 league season last Saturday. But defender Hamis Batega, who featured in the Arua match, managed to sustain an hamstring injury and may miss out on the Thursday semi-finals. Express and Bright Stars will be for the second time at Wankulukuku before the close of this week. Now, the Red Eagles defeated them 3-1 last week in the league. The winner will take on Proline in the finals to be hosted at Masaka Recreation Grounds on the 25th of May. News from the She Cranes camp: coach Vincent Chiwanuka and his team need to work more on the She Cranes midfield and defense if Uganda is to put up a winning performance at the Vitality Netball World Cup in July. It was evident that the two departments needed to be beefed up during the She Cranes friendly matches with the Zimbabwe Gyms yesterday at the AVRS Arena, Nachilembe in Mpigi district. Uganda won the second game after posting a 57-53 result in Game 2, a similar result that was scored in the opening match at the weekend at the international friendly match with the fellow African nation. The performance suggested that the She Cranes had learnt little and nothing from Game 1 that was played on Sunday at Chiwanuka believes otherwise. Let's close with some international news. Liverpool will miss the services of their key players, Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino, when they take on Spanish giants Barcelona Champions League semi-final second leg on Tuesday night at Anfield Stadium. Salah stretched off after colliding with Newcastle goalkeeper Martin Dubravak in the second half against the Magpies, which Liverpool won 3-2 on Saturday evening. Firmino, who's struggling with the groin injury, has already been replaced in the starting team by Daniel Sturridge, while Salah's absence makes it a hard task for Jurgen Klopp's side, who were beaten 3-0 in the first leg at Camp Nou last week. Klopp also hinted that Salah and Firmino's absence was decision taken on medical grounds and was out of his control. Salah currently leads the second chart on the league with 22 goals, two above Manchester City's Sergio Aguero, who would want to finish the season on a high note. That is it for sports news. In our Daily Pearl of Africa series, we are going to look at Lake KIJJANEBAROLA. Now, the journey to explore Uganda's incredible features never ends, and now we head to Rakai district, where we find a lake that is believed to have formed itself. Due to this, residents found it appropriate to give it a name, Lake KIJJANEBAROLA, a Koki word meaning people saw it coming. Now join me on yet another adventure in this series. Lake KIJJANEBAROLA lies in the central part of Uganda in Rakai district. This lake is reported to have formed itself between the late 1940s and early 1950s. Vincent Katongole, a fisherman, remembers how the lake derived its name.
KIJJANEBAROLA bangalo mazono kitegeezaki? Kitegeeza nti yajja misana kubanga abazadde baffe babajjajjaffe naffe bwe twasanga bagiyita nti yajja misana. Yajja misana. Bajjajja abo bakugamba yavaawa? Sibannyonnyola yavaawa nabo baalabanga ejjabuzi.
In Koki County, Rakai district, the lake is surrounded by many tribes. However, the most dominant are Banyankole and the Koki people. This lake is a blessing to most residents who engage in fishing and also farming. Catching fish is more profitable since many are never disappointed at the end of the day. Parents work with their children to get their daily meal.
This lake attracts tourists from many parts of the world as it provides a number of numerous activities, bird watching being one of them. The exotic plants that lay on its water is also fascinating, not forgetting boat riding and swimming. Trees around the lake have nests attached to their branches, encouraging sightseeing. A 3 to 4 hours drive from Kampala, Uganda's capital city, to Rakai district, so as to have your own experience at this magnificent lake is all that it takes. Now the quest in exploring Uganda's amazing features never ends on New Vision TV's Pearl of Africa Diaries. So till next time.
Now for more Pearl of Africa stories, visit our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our newspaper, The Sunday Vision, is also another home of adventures. Get your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa series. Now let us speak business in the Handshake with Lynn Komjishe.
Hello there, this is New Vision TV. My name is Lynn Komjishe and this is the Handshake. Now, before I can introduce my guest, logistics and transport industry leadership is pushing for self-regulation. I am wondering, self-regulation, who has been regulating them and what are they preparing for? They say it is, of course, preparation for the oil and gas sector. Allegedly, it is they are supposed to be, handling a lot of cargo. Well, I have with me Paul Busharizi. Yes, you know the guy. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So these guys pushing, where have they been? What is pushing them? Who is regulating them? Why now?
Well, first of all, of course, talk about preparations for oil.
Yes.
In June this year, I think June this year is the deadline for what they call the signing of the final investment decision,
yes.
Something like that. So once that is signed, I think the government and the people, they can go back to their home countries and mobilize the finances for the things they have to do to get ready for oil in about 3 years' time. Now, they estimate that between $15 and $20 billion is going to be spent over the next 3 years.
Okay.
For Uganda, we have not had such economic activity in our lives. The magnitude is so big that there's no one who can do it alone. Like there's no freight forwarder in Uganda who can handle the whole oil industry alone.
Of course.
We have very, very many small little guys.
Yes.
So that in order to maximize what they call local content, they're being encouraged to come together, upskill themselves and all that kind of business.
So they've been scattered?
Yeah, of course, they've just been scattered doing their own small little things. So now I think this is an effort to bring them together to create those synergies that they can at least get some work in the oil industry.
Oh, apart from that, what else are they targeting?
Well, as I said, first of all, they're associating, they're bringing themselves together, then they're getting training. They're getting training which will improve their capacity to handle the oil industry. Because the oil industry, for example, if they want trucks, they don't go down here to the yard and say, I want 20 trucks come. No, there are certain standards that have to be met. So these freight forwarders are trying to improve their own capacities to handle. Yeah.
So how will this self-regulation help them as companies? Right now, who is regulating them?
That's a good question. I suspect it might be somebody in the Ministry of Transport and Works or something like that. But I think, you see, why many times people want to be self-regulated is because these industries are always changing.
Right.
And if you leave your regulation to a government entity which does not change as fast as the industry, you can get tied up. So I think that's why they're pushing for self-regulation. And if they are organized and they get into this big kind of association, why not? I mean, unless government wakes up and says, oh, no, we're the ones, they can regulate themselves.
Paul, the oil and gas sector is more of who is certified, who can handle what. Now, these people, these guys, Are they looking at that? Because, Paul, we know people who work in the industry, in the transport industry, not many of them have attained a certain qualification.
So over the last week or two, they've been attending a training course of international freight organization course. Trainer. Exactly. So they have trained trainers. They have trained trainers of trainers. Is it?
Oh boy.
No, they've trained trainers. So these trainers hopefully will then
will also train others.
Will train others and stuff like that. So that's what they're trying to do. It's going to be a kind of international certification.
Oh,
absolutely, which the oil industry requires of them.
And how will this help the oil and gas?
Well, I think it's more how will it help local Ugandans?
Yes.
Because with that kind of certification and the improvement of their capacities and this coming together, they will be able to get some contracts. I mean, you're talking about huge contracts. They told me that I think at the peak of this 3-year period before oil comes, you're going to need 2,000 trucks. Is it 2,000 trucks or 200 trucks? I think
200,000.
No, 2,000. I think it's 200 trucks. You're going to need 200 trucks. Now, those are not just any trucks. They have to be certified. They have to be a certain age. You can't get a second-hand truck to move stuff around.
Wow.
But one of the big things about those things is you're going to need 3 drivers on those trucks, and these have to be internationally certified.
They have to be certified as well.
If you went around looking for even 20, 100 international certified truck drivers in Uganda, you might not find. So there's all that capacity building, and this is just part of it.
And are we in any way? I mean, we've been talking about
we at the time we have you know first of all, initially first oil was supposed to come out in 2009, which is 10 years ago. So I think in the last 10 years we've been working, and I think we are in a good place. We need to be better, but I think we're better off than if oil had come out in 2009. We'd have lost everything.
I'm really looking forward to that time the oil starts, coming out.
The action is actually before the oil starts coming out. So these 3 years between now and the oil, that's really where big action is.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
In our special report today, we'll look at hydrocephalus, the little known killer. Now, between 5,000 to 7,000 new cases of hydrocephalus are registered in Uganda annually. Now, this is a condition where water accumulates in the head of children who are less than 5 years. Luckily, 35 babies were freely operated on recently in Mbale, but many mothers fail to understand this silent killer. Now, our reporter was on ground and compiled this report.
At the Cure Children's Hospital Recovery Ward, a 16-year-old mother, Maureen Wanyeze, carries her 2-month-old baby, stroking it to soothe it. Wanyeze turns the baby's head to check whether the cannula is fixed in the right position. It is recovering from surgery done to treat hydrocephalus, a condition which means water in the head in Greek.
And this one develops when the baby is conceived. In this tube, which contains the fluid usually feeds the brain. It contains some oxygen, it contains fluid, it contains amino acids. In some babies, the tube is blocked even right from birth. And if it is blocked, it does not get out, the fluid does not get out, and it accumulates, and the collection of fluid within the brain is what we call hydrocephalus.
Hydro says hydrocephalus occurs when the fluid does not return to the blood as fast as it is produced.
When a baby is conceived, in the first few weeks of life, the spinal cord and the brain start developing from the original cell, the original fertilized cell. And initially, the fertilized, the embryo initially is a flat material, and then folds, and part of the folding encloses and grows up into the spinal cord, and continues growing upwards and also downwards. What grows upwards becomes eventually the brain. But in the folding, it then retains a fluid system, a coil throughout from the spinal cord up to the brain. And we call it the ventricular system in the brain. And in the spinal cord, it is called the spinal canal. It contains fluid. And into this fluid, when we eat food and it is digested, absorbed into the blood, it goes to supply the brain, and from the blood the food moves into this fluid, and it moves around to feed the brain, also to give the brain some oxygen. Now, this fluid is in equilibrium, continuously moves, it is absorbed in, and then eventually it gets out. If this system gets blocked, either in the spinal canal or in the brain, you develop a swelling. The system starts swelling, and in the brain, an enlargement of that canal which contains the fluid is what we call hydrocephalus.
On the same recovery ward, another mother, 27-year-old Maria Bachigambweko, sits, changing diapers for her 2-month-old baby.
Nze nazaala omwana oyo ng'alina obwo obuzibu. Abasajja abasinga tebagala baana balina bizibu. Taata we n'akita n'agamba omwana si wuwe. But ntobye ne mama wange okutuuka wano wendi nembeerawo.
The baby is also receiving treatment for hydrocephalus but was not born with the complication. It developed after surgery for spina bifida.
When the baby is conceived, initially the spinal cord and the brain is a flat material, and then it slowly starts folding, and it folds and forms a round tube. If this fold is incomplete, in the back you form what we call a spinal cord, an open spinal cord canal. If it is along the brain on the head, it is called an encephalocele. And in the most important risk factor, the main risk factor for spina bifida, for this fold to fail to form completely, is a lack of folic acid or inadequate folic acid in the body.
Hydro further revealed that spina bifida results from folic acid deficiency.
A mother conceives a baby when a level of folic acid in the blood is low. This mother is at risk of producing a baby with spina bifida. So the most important preventive strategy, therefore, is taking folic acid before conception. So starting it several months before the mother conceives, and then continuing so that you build your body stores, and by the time the baby is conceived, the spinal cord can form nicely. Starting to take folic acid after conception may not particularly prevent it.
Other sources of folic acid include dark green leafy vegetables and legumes like lima beans, black beans, black-eyed peas, and chickpeas. On the other hand, 60% of hydrocephalus cases are linked to infections like meningitis, according to Dr. Idro.
After birth, a baby may get meningitis, and meningitis damages the absorbing site, and then again fluid starts accumulating in the system, and you form hydrocephalus. The accumulation of fluid within the brain rapidly damages the brain, and it is important that this is treated very urgently, and that is what the surgeons do in trying to put a tube inside the brain so that the fluid is then taken out, to create a mechanism to remove the fluid from the brain and taken back into an abdominal space so that it can enter the blood system. And that is what we call a shunt, removing the fluid so that it can find a way of getting out from the brain, from within the skull into either the abdomen, and eventually finding its way out into the blood.
He also estimates that about 80% of children born with spina bifida end up developing hydrocephalus because the cerebral spine is connected to the fluid that feeds and protects the brain and the spinal column. In many cases, once the back issue is closed off, the fluid builds pressure and it goes up to the brain. Other causes include a blockage in the pathway tubing, a condition called stenosis, bleeding in the brain, which could result into a clot that can block the system. Dr. Idro thus recommends immunization to prevent infections, stressing that preventing spina bifida is one of the ways to prevent hydrocephalus. Wanyeze and Bachigambweko's babies are among the 35 children who recently benefited from a 5-day neurosurgical camp at Cure Children's Hospital, Uganda, based in Mbale district. The camp was organized by Rotary Kampala Muyenga Breeze in partnership with Cure Children's Hospital, Uganda, and sponsored by Orient Bank. The Rotary Club handed over a check worth 20 million Uganda shillings, which saw 20 cases of hydrocephalus, 8 cases of spina bifida, 3 cases of trauma, 2 cases of dermoid cysts or swellings on the forehead, and 2 brain tumor cases treated. The surgeries were conducted by a visiting neurosurgeon from Newcastle in Australia, Dr. John Christie, together with the medical director of Cure Children's Hospital, Uganda, Dr. Peter Senyonga, the assistant medical director, Dr. Justino Nen, Dr. Emma Wegoye, and medical students from Busitema University. The executive director of Cure Children's Hospital, Uganda, Tim Erickson, said every month the hospital conducts over 120 surgeries. He estimates that in 2018 alone, over 1,300 surgeries were conducted to treat children born with hydrocephalus, spina bifida, and tumors in the brain. He, however, said that this is just a drop in the ocean because a total of between 5,000 to 7,000 new cases of hydrocephalus and spina bifida are registered in Uganda annually. Globally, hydrocephalus and spina bifida are a big challenge. For instance, Tim says hydrocephalus is the #1 reason why children in America undergo brain surgery. This report was filed by Agnes Chotalengeire for New Vision TV.
That's all I had for you. Thank you for watching. Be sure to catch my news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/video. You can follow us on social media. Facebook is The New Vision, Twitter is @NewVisionWire, Instagram is @NewVisionWire, and our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth the Voice.